Welcome back to the B&B Podcast. My name is Jayden Boyce. Alongside me is Coach Bailey and Jeremy Gibson. Another new place we're recording from Gibby's house, but not inside this time. We're out in the garage. Good setup, Gibby.
Thank you.
Little shop talk.
Little shop talk. You can tell Green Bay Packer phenom fan over here. We got Charles Woodson, Brett Favre over here. Oh my God, holy Brett Favre, Gibby.
Yeah, this was a lot of the memorabilia that I collected when I was younger. My mom would always just find some random things or save some stuff. I do have the Super Bowl. I don't know what you'd call that. Poster. I don't even know, but whatever that commemorative pictures with the box score on it. I do have some other smaller playing cards ones. I haven't quite got up there yet, but yeah, it's kind of my nice little sanctuary to.
Speaking of Brett Favre, today I was actually going through some boxes. We were trying to clean up around the house. I have a Brett Favre rookie, that's in mint condition, in a hard glass, not glass, but that thick plastic case. A Brett Favre
Atlanta Falcons one.
Rookie card. That thing's got to have a little value.
You should see the cards he has. The Shaq cards, the MJ cards, the Penny.
197 Jordan cards, about 200 Shaq cards. I used to collect them when I was a kid, and I just kept them, and they're going to soon be my son's. And hopefully someday cards resurge as a value, and he can retire early.
Well, did you ignore this one on purpose, Jayden, or just...
Yeah, it's a good
homage to
Nets poster.
Yeah, it's just a little homage to the greatest basketball player of all time, but we'll save that for
another episode. But as Coach Bailey's back, he was gone. A nice Nashville trip.
Yeah, I went down the old honky tonk central. I left those Broadway girls alone. That's a shout out to Morgan Wallen. I was down there with Taylor and the Jacobs, and yeah, we had a blast, man. It was it's a good time, but like I said when I got here, 3 days is enough. After 3 days, Nashville is winning and you're losing. It's time to go home. And we didn't know it. We bought our tickets to go and booked everything way back in December. And then we discovered it was CMA Fest. Ooh. So we weren't the only ones in town.
Nice and busy.
Yeah, there were about 100 billion people, it felt like. I mean, you literally could not move on the sidewalks during the day. And then obviously in all the different bars and places were pretty packed. But it was a blast, man. We had a good time. I'm going to try to be short on this. We were so unlucky. We were at, can't remember the name of it. It was called Legends or something like that. And the guy we're talking to is like, oh yeah, you should have been in here last night. Post Malone came in here and played a song up on the stage. And we're like, oh, really? Cool. Well, then Sunday night we're at Dierks Bentley's bar and we leave, and on Monday I'm watching TikToks from people that were also at Dierks Bentley bar. We left, and an hour later Eric Church gets up, plays a song on stage there, and I'm like, what are the odds? And then Blake Shelton's bar had a line, and I'm like, I'm not waiting in line. It's 100 degrees outside, not really. It was 90 something. I'm like, I'm not waiting in line. So we went to different places. Found out later it was Kid Rock or Morgan Wall. Somebody was there, and it was we just missed all the celebs. We had a chance to run into some big names, but we never did. So.
Well, what was better, the music or the food?
Ooh, I have to go with the music, man. I lived in Austin, Texas. That's a live music place too, and I'm a sucker for good live music. The only thing is Nashville doesn't have a lot of originals. On Broadway, they make all the bands that are not the big name guys. They make them all do these same covers. So it gets a little repetitive, but it's still good music, man. It was awesome. But that Nashville fried chicken's pretty good too.
Look at him blushing over here.
Geez. Making me want to take another trip down there, but I don't know, $9 Busch Latte has got a hold of the wallet.
Hole in the wallet. Since Bailey is back, though, that means awards will take a while. Lead into a lot of different conversations. We're going to start straight up with awards. We're going to go Premium Waters, Moment, Play It, whatever you want to make up for Premium Waters. Bailey, you started us off since you were gone.
Yeah, and I like to give multiple, but this award, there's only one this week. Because there is nothing better than Bryson Dechambeau's shot out of the bunker. That shot with that kind of pressure after he was Happy Gilmore, he's hitting it off the guy's boot in the grass, on that shot before that, puts it into the sand, and everybody's like, oh, he's falling apart, he's going to lose this thing. And then he chips it out of the bunker about 3 feet from the cup. That's premium water's play right there, Bryson
And
Dechambeau.
And I agree with you, and I'm going with that too. Bryson, you get 2 premium waters, and this is why. I don't know if you guys watch his YouTube. You probably don't. I'm actually a big fan of Bryson Dechambeau's YouTube.
You were talking him up big time.
I was talking to him big time, and I watch a lot of his YouTube videos, and he said the most difficult shot he could ever hit was a 60-yard bunker shot. He said that's the most difficult shot he'd ever taken and stuff. Gets in the sand, 55-yard bunker shot. What does he do? He says, "Liv, get on my back." Rory, stop the disrespect, and he lays up to 3 feet from the pin. Are you kidding me? That's live. That might be the greatest shot I've ever seen live for golf.
We were watching it, and like I said, his shot before that, he was almost out of bounds.
Yeah.
He was up next to the fence. There's trees. It reminds me of the part where he's like, "Well, I beg to differ. Happy Gilmore did it no longer." And then he's like, "Yeah." He turns around that whole scene in Happy Gilmore, and he hits it into the sand. I'm like, he's falling apart.
He couldn't hit the fairway. He could not hit the fairway with his driver.
He hits it out of the bunker, man. The second he took that shot and then sank the putt, I was like, premium waters. There ain't gonna be anything beating this. The only thing would have been a half-court buzzer beater to win the NBA Finals, but
Peyton Pritchard got close.
he was close.
Give it premium waters.
I got to give it to Jaylen Brown, putting in pretty solid 5-game stretch for the Celtics, capping it off with a Finals MVP. I think all the debate out there had been, is Jason Tatum the best? I think he definitely increased his stock this playoffs by solidifying as not just the second fiddle to Tatum anymore. I think he's now in that conversation of who is the alpha on this team.
He is
now.
a dog, yeah. He was hooping.
And who knows if this is going to be a good thing or a bad thing for the Celtics. But I got to give a lot of credit to Jaylen Brown. He played his butt off and definitely had a huge, huge part in the dominant performance by the Celtics throughout the NBA Finals. So
Did I read it right that it was the first time in NBA history that a player led his team in scoring, rebounding, and assist in the finals and didn't win the MVP?
that Jason Tatum you're referring to.
Yeah, because
Yes.
he led the Celtics in scoring, rebounding, and assists through the NBA Finals, but did not win NBA Finals MVP.
Because the other three players we had seen, it was LeBron, and he did it four times, I believe.
Yep.
And
Every
was the
MVP.
MVP for every championship that he's won.
It's pretty impressive.
Pretty good.
Was it Shaq? No,
Tim Duncan.
Tim Duncan was the other
Duncan
one, and he
won.
was. And then I forget who the third one was.
Was it Kobe?
No, it wasn't Kobe.
No.
I'm trying to blank
It
who it
wasn't Steph, was it?
No, it wasn't. It may have.
Oh, Magic Johnson.
Oh, yeah,
it was
it was
Magic
Magic,
Johnson.
Magic,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's pretty good company to be in as far as leading your team in the kind of the big three statistically.
But Jaylen Brown does deserve
But
the
because
MVP as well.
defensively, I mean, taking the number one player, I mean, Luka played good, but I mean, he definitely looked a lot more human in a lot of those games. And Jaylen Brown still stepped up on the offense of the ball. And I mean, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, I mean, yeah, his game 5 was really good. He dropped 30 points, but I mean, a lot of those points were at the end of the game. Some would say garbage points in a way. I don't think that game 5 should have made him MVP. I think Jaylen Brown 100%
Oh, for
deserved
sure.
it.
Yeah, not like anybody's
100%.
sitting here debating. Because if anything, it would have been a debate as who was the second best
Drew Holiday.
player. Drew Holiday has probably made that
Would you say that?
case. I think so. I think
Drew
just
Holiday
based on
played his butt off too. man.
his defense that he had on Kyrie throughout that series, as
you
his
remember-
coach kind of mentioned a couple weeks ago. I'm like, that was just the one of the things that they had to take away, because we were talking about it, that duo was unstoppable against the Wolves, and then almost was suspect those first 2 games. Nobody could find him. He was out there the whole time. He couldn't hit hit water if he fell in a boat. That's how bad it was for a good stretch there.
And he was like doing his crossover moves, quick feet and stuff, but like he literally couldn't get around Drew Holiday. It was
Drew
insane.
Holiday's a glove, man. He's the new Gary Payton.
Oh, and you know, that leads into another thing, guys. Is Drew Holiday a Hall of Famer? And it's a genuine conversation we need to have. Is Drew Holiday, if he retires right now, is he a Hall of Famer? I think he's 16 points a game he's averaging. I think he's been all defensive team.
2 rings now?
2 rings, yeah. And a big role in both of those rings.
I told you 2 weeks ago when you asked, you said, all right, as the basketball coach, analytically, tell me why the Celtics are going to win. And I said, one guy, Drew Holiday. He is the winner. You bring him and put him with any of these other kind of top tier, let's say top 5 teams in the league, that team's probably going to win the championship. Like, I think if you put Drew Holiday for Jamal Murray this year, you just swapped them, the Nuggets probably win.
Yeah.
Because they're able to stop Ant Edwards. They're able to stop these other guys that they weren't able to. Not knocking Jamal Murray, because I'm a fan of him, but Drew Holiday's a dog, man.
He is.
Points are hard to come by in the playoffs, and a lot of the casuals get really frustrated, or not. Maybe not the casuals. The casuals aren't probably as upset. The fans that watch their teams and watch NBA all season long notice a very large change in effort defensively across the board, and you start seeing points go down, scoring go down, and those teams that really pride themselves in defense, like the Celtics did, just suffocating defenders. You start seeing guys stepping in, trying to draw more charges, like just a lot of those plays that you don't see throughout the season. And when you've got guys like Drew Holiday, they will pick you up full court.
Yep.
And basically be in your hip pocket the entire time, every possession for an entire game, for an entire series. It's got to just be the most annoying, frustrating thing ever as a offensive dominant player, and knowing that this is where I am the most comfortable, and I do not feel comfortable right now with Drew Holiday just holding my hand the entire way down the floor.
Yeah.
And all time when we look at him, we gotta I don't have a computer and stuff, so Gibby, if you want to
I've got something ready here.
All time
players.
You got the all-time point guards.
Type in a number or a name, and we'll see statistically where they known Hall of Famers right now.
Rajon Rondo.
Well,
or Drew Holiday.
Actually,
He's
I'd say
better
before
than
that,
Rondo.
let's go off of kind of the name that you already dropped. Let's go off the glove here, because Gary Payton, I believe.
The thing that I think Drew Holiday does is he's such a good decision maker. When he drives, if he knows he can get to the cup, he's going to get to the cup, and he's going to score. But he passes so well off that drive. When he gets there and guys collapse, it's like, how does he find that guy in the corner and then also get him the ball around a 7-footer and a 6'10" guy? Like, he just sees the court better, he reads the floor better, and he can knock down open shots. What do you have that one game? 30?
Yeah, 26 or
26. So he can fill it up when he wants. I think Drew Holiday's earning his respect now, though.
So for the glove, Gary Payton, statistically, over the course of their careers, so Gary Payton has quite a few more games, just because he played a lot longer still. And obviously Drew's not retiring, so it's not like his career's over at this point. But from a statistical standpoint, and this is from a sample size of about 1,000 games for Drew and about 1,300 for Gary Payton. So it's not like it's a couple. It's a pretty narrow gap considering how dominant Gary Payton was. They're both at about low 16s in points per game, 16.1 for Drew, 16.3 for Gary. Rebounds, 4.2 to 3.9, so Drew will be first, Gary will be second here. Assists, 6.4 to 6.7. Steals, 1.4 to 1.8. Drew actually has an edge in blocks per game, in a half block a game as a point guard or guard type player. Gary Payton, 0.2. Shooting percentage, 4.63 or 0.463, so 46%, 46%. This is disturbing. Drew, slightly better 3-point shooter, and I think in an era, threes are a little bit more inflated. So you could probably take this for what it is: 37% to 32%. Free throws about the same at about 78%. And then as far as let's see here, what is this last stat here?
Do they have turnovers on there?
As far as the assists here, assist turnovers. Let's see if I can find them. Turnovers about 2.5 each, literally. Their
Which you have the ball, and you have the ball a lot. So
yes, and they average only about 2 fouls a game. So it's crazy
they're
here.
Pretty comparable guys.
Now, as far as awards and honors go, Gary Payton, Hall of Famer. NBA championships, Drew has 2 now to Payton's 1. Drew has never been a first-team All-NBA player. Gary Payton was twice.
Okay, that's good.
All-NBA, period. Drew Holiday has never been an All-NBA first, second, or third team, whereas Gary Payton, 9 times.
That's big right
all
there.
Defense. This is kind of the
this is where they
he's
both
gaining.
Yep.
Drew has been a 6-time All-Defensive player. whereas Gary Payton was 9. So I'm assuming those all-NBA teams probably overlapped a little bit. Defensive Player of the Year, Gary Payton did have one of those. That's a big, for a guard.
As a guard,
big
that's huge.
award to win, and especially in the 90s and late 2000s, early 2000s.
He had to defend the greatest player to ever play.
Correct. And all-star appearances, Drew only has 2 to Gary Payton's 9. So as far as like those big postseason awards or yearly awards, Drew just, I think, is in a very offensive saturated generation where I think it's harder to come by those. The star power isn't quite like a guy like Drew would have thrived in the 90s based on how he's built as a player, because you had to play defense to be a dude in the NBA in the 90s.
And think of the guards right now, and no disrespect to the guards in the 90s, but I'd say guards now are probably offensively better. I mean, you got Harden, he's had to be with Westbrook, Curry, all these guys, Chris Paul. I mean, that's really hard to get all NBA when you got all those guys in this era of basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, Gary Payton, who's he? I mean, John Stockton, who else was top tier guard he had to like compete with all NBA honors with?
Well, like you had like Jason
Kidd's another one. I'll pull his up here. I mean, he
John
was a little
Stockton, Isaiah Thomas.
I mean, Chris Paul's probably going to be a fringe Hall of Fame.
You think Chris Paul's a fringe Hall of Famer? I don't think
the lack of championships is not as important, I feel like, in the NBA as it is maybe for like the NFL, because I know that one's a big knock on guys like the quarterbacks especially.
Yeah, quarterbacks.
I think
Chris Paul, it clears Drew Holiday though as a player, and I don't even think it's close.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Did you just say you would take Chris Paul before Drew Holiday?
Easily.
No way.
Okay, and I know that we're going to sit here and talk about what Drew Holiday's done, 2 chips and all this, and he deserves all of his flowers. But Chris Paul, he put him on the Celtics. I mean, that team easily wins it.
Look what happened. They tried putting Chris Paul on these teams to win a championship, and it never happened. Guess what? They put Drew Holiday on a team to win a championship, and it happened. Because he's the game changer.
That's very different, though, because Chris Paul goes to a terrible Thunders team, totally changed the culture. He went to the Clippers, helped change the culture. He went to the Suns for the first time. They hadn't made the playoffs in God knows how many years. He changed the culture. Chris Paul goes to the
player.
Statistically, he does have a little bit more on the offensive side with almost averaging 10 assists a game his entire career, which is
that's pretty impressive.
And also 18 points a game. And again, so Chris Paul, I say borderline Hall of Famer. He's probably borderline. I think he's going to be, just looking at these numbers right now. I think I have to change my take here. I
think he's first ballot.
That depends on who's on it, because it is the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame. It's not just like the NBA, and I think that Naismith is just the Basketball Hall of Fame. So I think they even do like college players, coaches, and all. I mean, the NFL kind of does it differently, where they have their criteria and standards and whatnot. But Chris Paul, 4-time first team All-NBA player, 11-time All-NBA. That's first, second, or third. 9-time All-Defensive player. He averaged 2.1 steals in his career.
I think he slept on as a defender.
I think so, just because of the teams that he was on, because they weren't really known when he was in Los Angeles they weren't like a big defensive team. They were Lob City. Like, that's all that you kind of think of. He's a 12-time All-Star. So I guess I got to take my hesitancy on the Hall of Fame, because I mean, looking at these numbers, I mean, that's still better than Gary Payton's, where it was. But the only thing is he's just missing that ring. And towards the tail end of his career, he is the type of player that you would have kind of expected to be added to a roster to kind of push them, like a Drew Holiday, to push them to this extremely dominant team where you didn't need him to be your best scorer. You just wanted him to be the best distributor, the best leader out there. And it's just hard, because like, you do kind of base greatness off of championships and whatnot. Having only been to 1 finals, and thankfully the Bucks, for my own personal reason, got to spoil that.
Right.
His closest chance ever to get an NBA championship. But I think if you compare him to Gary Payton, right, in terms of statistically, you took their headshots away and you're just looking at stats, I think it's pretty clear based on that he would fall into that category. But
Holiday?
Yeah,
100%. I mean, when we're talking all-time point guards right now, I think obviously we take Magic, Steph, Pistol Pete, Stockton, the Big O, Westbrook, Jason Kidd. I'd even put over him.
Jason Kidd's Yeah, Jason Kidd's a Hall of Famer already.
You know who else I think gets slept on a little bit is Steve Nash.
I forgot
Steve
about
Nash,
Steve Nash.
yes,
2 MVP.
Yes.
But I mean, he's
7 seconds or less in Phoenix. That was a wild era. If you ever go back and you want to watch some pretty crazy stuff, just YouTube Phoenix Suns with like Amari Stoudemire and Steve Nash and those guys just running up score. I mean, they were scoring 140 points a game. It felt like.
Again, I wasn't alive there, but his defense did struggle. Steve Nash was not a great defender.
He wasn't known for his defense, but he was certainly known for his distribution. He could find guys, and like Gibby was just saying, he could get that ball from one end of the floor to the other and into a guy's scoring hands like that. That's what made him so electric. Like, he was so fun to watch.
But yeah, I'd still put him over. I put Penny Hardaway over Holiday.
So here are kind of so I just found a ranking of the best point guards currently in
the league.
Fame.
Oh, in the Hall of Fame.
Magic is 1, Steph 2. They're already kind of dubbing him as the best point guard, second best point guard. Oscar Robinson, Jerry West just recently passed away.
R.I.P.
He was 4. Isaiah Thomas, he was a very, very good point guard. They have CP3 as number 6 all time.
I was saying
ahead of Stockton on this list.
I don't know if I'd put him ahead
of Stockton. And then Steve Nash, Bob Cousy.
I forgot about Bob.
Jay Kidd, Gary Payton, Russell Westbrook. They got Dame Lillard up there, Walt Frazier, Nate Archibald. And then Pistol Pete, Tony Parker, Kyrie.
Ooh, Tony Parker. That guy was
kind of then it starts to drop a little bit more of the.
The point guard spot is a tough one though, because now you got these point forwards, and the game has changed so much. The point guard in 1985, 1990, 1995 had a completely different job than the point guard in 2020. 2024, 2022.
Well, you could make the case that Magic was ahead of his time in terms of what he brought to the table, because he was this tall, super athletic point guard, and he was 6'9", just bringing the ball. I mean, that's. I mean, LeBron, in all seriousness, he is a point guard. Yeah. He has been for probably the last 2/3 of his career. Those first maybe 4 or 5 years where he was more of that wing slasher, get to the rim, play defense, just uber athletic guy. But then once they realized that, I'm like, you just need the ball in his hands. He's just so smart, and he knows exactly where everybody needs to be. I think that's changed, because even Giannis was coming into the NBA as a point guard. Wemby brings the ball up. Like, these guys are just, they get taller and taller. They keep bringing the ball up the floor, and it's like it's starting to turn into not really positions anymore. I mean,
because Giannis, he's bringing the ball up, so he's the point guard, but he's not doing what a point guard does. He's not facilitating an offense. He's just the automatic advantage as the ball crosses. That's what your point guard's doing, is trying to create an advantage into the offense. And Giannis just comes down and puts his shoulder down and goes. Now he's created the advantage. Well, back in the day, a point guard had to come down, kick, go, screen, cut, come back, replay. It's just, the game has changed. I think everybody knows that. And like you said, so I think positions are kind of a lost thing.
Because even your centers aren't true. The back, you got Cat. He's a center.
Yeah.
According to the roster, he is the center or a center for the Timberwolves, but he does not play in the post. Brooke Lopez, another guy, Splash Mountain. He is not a true. He used to be.
There's like 2 or 3
back to the
true
basket
centers
guys
these days.
Are just because Embiid and Jokic aren't anymore. I mean, they can.
No, I say
can.
Embiid. I mean,
but that stretch for that 3-point shooting center is such a valuable asset to a team now. It's like you're willing to take that versus a guy that's just going to sit there and put his back to the basket for 20 possessions. And I mean, yeah, he might shoot 60%, but you got guys on the other end that are chucking threes up. And as far as my math goes, 3 is worth more than 2 if you do make the same amount of shots. So it's just hard to know that balance. I mean, how many of those kind of true centers are left, and how many of them are actually valuable and help contribute to a team like they used to?
Some would say Steph Curry isn't even a true point guard, because for a while with those Golden State teams, I mean, Draymond Green was the point guard kind of all of those teams. So as we talk about the point guard position, I mean, a lot of times it's like the size where they're listed at right out of college, and they kind of stick with that role. But like on the Mavericks, who is the point guard, Luka or Kyrie? I'd say Luka. Kyrie's more the shooting guard, but Kyrie's listed as a point guard. So like you guys said, positionless basketball in a way. I mean, everyone has their position on the court, but everyone can play all their different positions.
Yeah, certainly. And it depends on, who your roster is and the makeup. And, if you're the Mavs, you're going to run a different offense because you're trying to get everything on the perimeter with Luka and Kyrie.
Yep.
If you're, the Lakers with Shaq, you're probably trying to run through the post, so you're going to have more of a traditional point guard come down, maybe run a little triangle offense to get that advantage in the post. Right. So it makes a difference on your roster makeup, Like a guy that's a point guard this year, now that team goes and makes a few trades and brings in a couple of big stretch now it changes everybody's kind of role on what they're doing offensively.
Yeah, that was a premium waters that got a little rabbit trailed. Let's go to Marco Septic. I've been waiting for this Marco Septic. We started with Bailey. Now, Gibby, Marco Septic of the week.
I think going to keep it within the realm of NBA. I'm just going to say the NBA in general because the finals were just boring.
2 years in a row it's been boring.
I don't know what it is. Like, we kind of talked about this a little bit last week. Like, the West was supposed to be this amazing conference with all these great teams. And not to knock the Mavericks. The Mavericks were playing the best basketball at the time. But it was kind of a dud of a team in terms of star power outside of Luka and Kyrie. After that, the names fell off.
P.J. Washington.
So much. Yeah, P.J. Washington was playing playing out of his mind for a month and a half. And then they run into the Celtics, and the Celtics just have guys littered all over the place. And the Celtics really didn't have a lot of phenomenal series. I mean, they swept the Pacers, and they ran into a lot of injuries happened throughout this playoffs. So now that the finals are over and the NBA season is now entering into, for some people, this is the most exciting time for the NBA is the off season when. Seems like half the league gets turned over, but
that kind of is the most exciting part of the NBA now.
Isn't it? Who goes where?
It's the off-season,
which is why it's a little disappointing that it had to end in such a kind of boring fashion. Because even the one Mavs win, it was a 50-point blowout at one point. Like, they were up by almost 50 points.
Yeah.
And the Celtics were like, "Fine, we don't need to win this game. We'll just rest our starters the rest of the way."
Did you hear Sam Hauser's interview?
I did not.
They interviewed him. They're like, "What if you lose Game 5?" He's like, okay, we have game 6
got game
and
6
7.
and 7.
Win.
So, I was hoping to see a little bit more fight. I felt like karma really did its job with punishing Luka for all the complaining and whining, picking up 3 fouls in a matter of seemingly 90 seconds in that Game 3 loss that could have made this series a little bit more enjoyable. So I'm going to give my Marco Septic to the NBA in general, just for disappointing the fans yet again, and just kind of a meh playoffs, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think the league, to back on that, like the playoffs were somewhat boring, and the league is getting predictable. Too easy to predict.
Kind of like baseball is now, where you know which teams are going to be good and play a whole season, and it's like, all right, here we are. The only surprise probably truly was
the Mavericks.
The Mavericks. You could maybe argue the Wolves, but the Wolves were good all year, so it's not like anybody was super shocked that they.
Everybody just expected them to do what a Minnesota sports team would do, and that's
that's the thing. Like, you had 2 back-to-back series where the Mavs took advantage of the Thunder let everybody down in terms of being the 1 seed, and then the Wolves pull off this probably the best series of the finals or the playoffs is the Nuggets Wolves series. Then they go in there and just lay an egg against the Mavericks, and the Mavericks just ran out of steam and couldn't get anything done. So. Yeah, I hope there's enough drama this offseason to maybe balance out the East a little bit more, get some of those guys and veterans in the West just decide, you know what, change some scenery up a little bit here, try something different.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get a little bit more of a unclear picture going into next winter, so we kind of have a little bit more fun.
If you're Roger Goodell right now in the NFL, you got to be looking your chops. Because, NFL right now is just skyrocketing because that's a sport where you really don't know who's going to win the Super Bowl at the end of the year. You don't know. The NBA is getting to the point, everybody, where it's like...
It's starting to get to that Patriots level right now where you've got... It's like the Chiefs to lose at this point from the AFC standpoint because they've got Patrick Mahomes, and that's just...
You're talking for the NFL? What? Okay, you did not think the Chiefs were going to win it all, though, at week 12 last year.
I don't think you're quite old enough to really remember the Patriots
that's
the 2000s in terms of they did not have the sexiest offenses you go back prior to Randy Moss, some of the best receivers on those Patriots teams, not many people could probably even name half of them at this point, because Gronk didn't really come around until well beyond that too. Like, those guys were all kind of middle of the run, where those early Patriots teams, like, it was just kind of like, all right, as long as Tom Brady's on the field, like,
you know they're going to be a contender
Peyton
anyway.
Manning is probably the person that would say, yeah, trust me, we were very much aware of how good the Patriots were, and that's just kind of how their run was.
But with the Chiefs right now, again, come week 12 last year, you did not think that the Chiefs were going to win it all. Bailey, we never said once that we thought Kansas City was going to win it last year.
No, but they're always in the back of your head as a contender. Like, you always think they're going to contend. But I didn't think they were going to win it last year.
No, and that was not the case with
You're right.
We thought the Niners were going to win like most of the season last year, and they ended up losing in the Super Bowl. I know Kansas City is the dynasty, but they still upset the Niners, some would say, because the Niners were favorites.
There is like last year, you know, you're thinking ahead. Maybe the Bills this year. Oh, wait, are the Cowboys for real? Oh, look at the Niners.
Or the Ravens.
Look at the Dolphins. So you have more teams that are kind of level-headed, but you're in the back of your head, you're always going, probably going to be Patty Mahomes and the Chiefs.
Because it's not like they're never not going to be in the conversation from the AFC side. So it's really hard to just be like, yeah, we're just going to write them off, because you can't. It's like, it was the same thing. It's like, all right, well, we know that one spot's going to be the Chiefs, and that means there's only 6 more teams, really. I mean, as long as Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes are in Kansas City, you can pretty much expect them to be in the conversation in the playoff. Not are they going to make the playoffs, are they going to win their division by how many games, and are they going to be the best team in the AFC at that time?
But, okay, yeah, so I do agree with that 100% stuff. But with the NBA, the reason I'm saying the NFL should be licking its chops, NBA right now is not where it is. And you got guys, LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard are getting close to retirement. Those were your faces of the league.
Yep.
Faces of the league really can drive it. When Michael Jordan was, well, even before Michael Jordan, it was Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. And then after that, Michael Jordan. Then Michael Jordan leaves town. Then Kobe Bryant, who basically played the game like him. Then after him, it goes LeBron, Tim Duncan. And then LeBron, Steph Curry comes along. Kevin Durant comes along. Russell Westbrook comes along. I'm scared right now because there's not that guy I see being the face of the NBA who's going to change it and transcend it. There's not that like all-time great that I see. Jokic. He's got the talent, but he doesn't have the personality. It takes a personality to be it. He's boring.
You got guys like Ant Edwards that are just going to get bigger and bigger, right, every year. Wemby's going to become like this phenom thing we've never heard and seen before.
There was a little bit of purgatory after Jordan retired, I think the second time, after the second three-peat, where there was like a 2 to 3 year span before LeBron eventually came into the league and is now ushered in the last 20 years of the NBA. But like, there was a little bit of time where it's like, okay, well, because I mean, the Lakers were dominant, but outside of the Lakers, there really wasn't that superstar like we saw with Michael Jordan, and yet anyway, like with obviously the Lakers, Kobe and Shaq were untouchable for a little while, but just being patient as far as the NBA goes. Shout out to my neighbor right now.
Can I give him a mark on something? He'll mow the back other corner for the first hour here. Yeah.
So I think from an NBA standpoint, I think there's a lot to be excited about. I think there's a lot of really young talent in the league right now that are up and coming. Because a lot of the best players are under 30. Because you kind of have a huge gap between those guys that are in their early to mid 30s that are kind of in that LeBron era still, and then you're ushering in this new crop of young guys that are really exciting. There's a lot of really good. I mean, a lot of the best teams were super young, and that seems to be the trend moving forward. Like these veteran super team big threes, they just don't seem like they're working anymore, which I think is really going to help make the league a little bit more enjoyable, because there's not going to be a 76ers organization just trying to lose for a decade to try and get assets, where it's like, just trade away guys that have value and acquire as much as you can in terms of draft capital, and then just draft and try things out, because I think that just seems to be the new formula, by drafting your star and then building as you go, not feeling you got to fix everything all in one off season with one transaction of bringing in LeBron, D-Wade, and Chris Bosh, or like you saw it in Phoenix. Everybody was like, "Oh goodness, watch the Suns now. They got Booker, they got KD, and they got Bradley Beal. This team's going to be untouchable." They're aging. I mean, as far as KD, I mean, Booker struggled as far as being like this after CP3 being gone as not really the point guard, but like trying to run that offense. And Beal couldn't stay healthy. It's kind of his MO the last few years. You just can't. And he was on a no man's land out in DC for how many years too. So,
do you guys have someone that you think will be the face of the NBA?
The way these guys that are covering the NBA talk about him, it sounds like Wemby is going to be at least in the conversation. Like they're just talk like his skills, his skill set, his size, his likability. That's a big part of being a face of a league. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is a relatively quiet guy outside of the sport, which is, I think, really helpful. So I would say if I had to put money on it right now, probably Wemby, but I don't know. Ant's obviously garnered a lot of popularity.
If he has another year next year like he did this year, like because he was blown up. I mean, you see more Ant Edwards jersey. Granted, we live right here next to the Twin Cities, but I think Ant Edwards is a superstar because he has highlight plays, but then he also can go and have a quiet 30.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. You know, so that's the kind of guy that's going to be a face of the league. And I think there's guys that are so young yet, like you said, like Tyrese Halliburton's going to eat, right? Paolo Banchero from Orlando, like those kind of guys. They're just so young and they're smart. They're like, this isn't my time. It's LeBron still in the league, Durant still in the league, all these big old timers. But once those guys go out, I think you're going to see more of the Palos and those guys because who else? You're not going to go look at Peyton Pritchard. You know? You're going to have
Giannis, Jokic, and Embiid kind of carrying the transition. I feel like for a few years because those three have been the most dominant players in the NBA.
Giannis too.
Yeah, so Giannis is probably from a veteran standpoint. I feel like his likability has gone down the last few years. I don't know really if
he could stay healthy. I think Giannis would have the best shot to be the face because he has the personality for it. He's a funny guy. The media likes him.
Yeah.
And I mean, we saw him. He can literally carry a team. Not carry, but
he did.
Yeah, I'd say that to a championship. He can do that.
And it just felt like Steph just came in a little too early because obviously if LeBron, in terms of his longevity, really hurt. I feel like because Steph was for a good stretch there when those Warriors teams were just killing everybody. He was the second most popular player in the world when it came to basketball because of just his unique skill set and how it just completely changed the game of basketball at every level. So I think if he had came in 5 years after, I think a lot of us would be saying right now Steph Curry is going to carry for that. But that was the thing. His career was riddled with early on injuries, and is he going to be healthy enough? Who knows? And then they go on this amazing run. But yeah, I think that's probably a good list that we've garnered there.
100%. For my Marco Septic, when we're talking other sport, NBA and NFL, face of the league's most popular players, my Marco Septic goes to a guy who arguably is the second most popular golfer in this era besides Tiger Woods, and a man named Rory McIlroy.
Oh.
And I don't know how you can be dominant in your sport and not win a major in 10 years. In your prime, not to win a major, it's insane. And to have so many chokes and just, Rory, what are you doing up to with, was it 4 holes to go? And he misses a 3-foot putt on 16.
That's a one I'm picking up. That's good, right? That's what I'm picking up.
That's what I told my dad. I was like, oh, that's a gimme. He can pick that up.
Oh, man.
Misses it. And then come 18. Oh, that was maybe a 4-foot putt. And I mean, I know it. I mean, the break was bad. But you're a professional, Rory. And you're the face of golf. No, you get a Marco something. I know you've got a lot of hate. I don't care. Get a Marco something.
I'm going to put mine in the same package, going out to Rory, but specifically to his putter. Because on 16 and 18, his putter, was he using like a mini golf putter or something? Because that was embarrassingly bad.
But his putting before that was insane. He couldn't miss with the wand.
Yeah, it was so bad. Rory and his putting, especially on 16 and 18, is what I'm calling Marco Septic. Absolute crap, embarrassing, blew the tournament. Okay. the thing that I laugh about the most is it says, your average golfer should be the most upset with Rory because he just redefined what a gimme is. Because like you said, gimme, I'd pick that up. You can't anymore because if Rory can't make that putt, I'm not betting money you can. No, like, it's not a gimme anymore. It's got to be 3 inches from the cup.
That's what it is.
Touching the pin.
Yeah. Yeah, Rory and his putting, well deserving. That was pretty bad. I have a second Marco Septic because I do like to give out multiple awards at times.
You have a notes list on your phone right now.
Yeah. And
this is that long. I love it.
No, well, Rory was on there, and then I added one right when I got here because I like to scroll Twitter. And I might take some heat from you on this one, but I'm giving it to Bronny James. Ooh. And if you're not sure why, go look at Bronny James' Twitter feed. Absolute joke. This guy is a clown. You haven't proven crap. Okay, you haven't. You average 2 points a game at USC.
Okay, can we settle down a little bit? He's a kid. Can we? He's a kid. Can we be nice to him? Keep going.
Okay, and he had a heart attack. Okay, yeah. Sorry, Bronny. Sincere apology. Here it is. There it was. Okay.
Was it sincere though?
But here's my gripe. This guy hasn't proven. He hasn't proven anything. Go look at what he just tweeted. He tweeted an edit of him, LeBron, Luka, and Kyrie in Mavs jerseys. You're not even in the league yet. You haven't been drafted. Get out of here.
Bailey,
you're a clown. And you know what he did?
Was it on his official account?
Yes.
I'm looking at it right now. It's pretty.
Like, what are you doing?
That's pretty
bad. That's Marco Septic. You're not even drafted. You're not an NBA player.
Well, this was also. I mean, it's just like wishing it into existence.
That's what I mean. You haven't proven anything. If you were this dog that dropped 25 a game at Kentucky,
and then how do you slander your greatest player of all time by putting this on your official team?
That's his dad. Come on, he's playing.
He's clowning his dad. You know what? That's funny. That's a bad man kind of thing. Because he's clowning his dad. But Marco Septic, dude, who are you? I don't even know your middle name. Why are you?
Doesn't need one.
I'm just saying that
his dad's the chosen one. He's Luke Skywalker.
When I saw him tweet the edit of him, his dad, and Kyrie. Luka's probably like, man, screw this. I'm going back to Europe. I don't want to play with these idiots. Like, these guys are idiots, man.
I just don't think that deserves a Marco Septic. Yeah, the kid posted what he can post whatever he wants.
But he hasn't proven anything.
Well, he doesn't have to prove anything yet.
Okay, so can I go make an edit of me with Jason Tatum and Drew Holiday? And, like, why?
Go do it. I won't give you a Marco for it.
Everybody's going to say I'm an idiot for doing it.
You go do it, Bailey.
Yeah, okay, that's it. Marco Septic is on its way to Bronny, James, and Rory.
Thought we were gonna have
I think that was a little premature. Do you have another Marco?
No, those are my only two.
Good. End it right there.
Actually, I did. I actually did. And it's just, in summary, Kyrie Irving in the finals. That was Marco Septic. Yeah. But because he also had a bad man that was guarding him for that finals. But yeah, that was Marco Septic. He was bad. He was good a couple times here and there, but he was overall bad.
As an apology for the Gibby's great neighbor for mowing grass over here. Bad man play of the week. Let's go for it. Gibby, I feel like it's going to be another NBA Finals related thing.
That is where you're wrong. I am giving my bad man award to Connor McDavid.
Okay.
That dude, okay. I don't watch hockey, but all NHL season or all the playoffs, I just keep hearing about Connor McDavid's the best player in hockey as of right now.
Best player since Wayne Gretzky.
Yes, and I felt, okay, NBA Finals are getting close to the end. It's kind of boring, so they've not been playing on the same night, considering ESPN has the rights to both broadcasts. So I thought, you know what, I'll give this a try because it's been a long time since a Canadian team has won the Stanley Cup. Gretzky played for the Oilers and helped solidify that. So to see kind of how things were going. Now, ironically enough, that series also started out 3-0 for Florida. The last two games, the Edmonton Oilers have scored a combined 13 goals. To the Panthers 4.
Wow. I haven't even paid attention.
8-1 in Game 4. So it was very funny how similar the games were going because both NBA and NHL finals started 3-0, and then Game 4 was an absolute blow-up by the team losing. It's 8-1, and then unlike the Mavericks, there was a really interesting game I watched. Again, this is the most hockey I've watched in a long time.
Yeah, I kind of fell asleep on the hockey.
And
I gotta get back into
Edmonton
that.
ended up pulling out a 5-3 win to force a Game 6 back at their home ice. And right now, Connor McDavid in the
When
last...
is that game? Game 6?
I don't know. I think it might be tomorrow, but it could be Friday. I'm not entirely sure. But Connor McDavid over the last 3 games, so this is going off of their Game 3 loss, which was a 4-3 loss. He has 10 points currently. He had 2 goals last night, 2 assists, and then he had a goal and 3 assists in the 8-1 routing of the Panthers, and then he did get 2 of the 2 assists on the 4 goals in Game 3 that they could have possibly won. The guy, I don't know a lot about hockey, but when you watch him with the puck, he is so much faster and just more fluid than anybody else that was on my screen. So that's just kind of my casual point of reference. I mean, like, yeah, that guy looks like he's a lot better than everybody else.
And his passes.
And they were saying, yes, his passing. I mean, that's the thing. Like, he's not just a scorer; he's obviously a distributor, and it's just been way more interesting to me because I've been like, okay, this is a possibility. Or hockey, I feel like it's more likely for teams to come back down quite a few games. And to see it kind of happening this way, going back to Edmonton, the 2,500-mile trip from Miami, it just seems like it's like now I have to watch because now I kind of got to see are they going to be able to pull this comeback to get to a Game 7, and that's all because of their superstar Connor McDavid.
And I've been like you. I've been like in and out watching a little bit. I watched Game 3. I turned it off early because Florida was up by 3 goals, I think, but the Oilers actually came back and like made it a one goal game. But it kind of sounds like this game's gonna be a Game 7 because it doesn't. It seems like Oilers, like you said, have all the momentum and a Game 7
going back home
in Florida,
and they've been just taking the Panthers goalie just out to lunch every night these last 2 games. I mean, they were talking about this guy as having one of the best playoffs ever as a goalie with his save percentage and how good he was. And they pulled him after midway through the second period in that Game 4 and gave up 4 goals in the first 2 periods last night as well. So just
the yips.
Yeah, it's just funny how that sport, they always talk about, like, they got up 4-1. And sure enough, they ripped off 2 goals, and now it's a 4-3 going into the third period. I'm like, you would think 3 goals is a nice, comfortable lead. They say one of the worst leads in hockey is a 3-goal lead. So it's just it's definitely drawn me into the sport a little bit more, and I might try to follow hockey a little bit more just because it is exciting. It's something different, and knowing that our long summer is about to start here in a matter of a couple of days in terms of no major sports, in terms of the kind of the big 3, I guess. You got baseball, but summer you're just kind of just something to put on at this point. It's not super crazy in terms of the competitiveness, but. That is my bad man of the week.
My bad man of the week is very obvious, and everyone knows where I'm going with this. But I'd like to have a little. What was my segment? The little boy story time or
Story time with
Boyce was a little segment that I had, and this is a little just appreciation post for a golfer who has changed the game to make a lot of younger guys watch it and to make me watch it. And Bryson Dechambeau.
Ricky
weird. Yeah, think of the same thing almost, Ricky. Bryson Dechambeau is a guy who, I don't know if you guys follow golf that much, but he's getting a lot of hate about 4 or 5 years ago and stuff. Because
him and Brooks Koepka had a big rivalry in terms of just Brooks was kind of the cool guy. This is when he was winning a lot too, so that helped. Kind of called out Bryson for being kind of a nerd.
Yeah, he was the nerd. He called himself the scientist and stuff. Yep. He puts his golf balls in Epsom salt, which that was weird to everybody. And he always tried to change the game with the scientific stuff, okay? Well, he goes to live. He's kind of disappeared all of this. He goes on YouTube, tries to go show his personality more, gets a lot more love from fans this year at the Masters. He was kind of a dog a little bit. He was kind of just like one of us, it seemed like. got tied T6 at the Masters. Then goes to the PGA Championship after more of his YouTube videos and stuff. A lot of the fans are liking him. He's getting up into the crowd a little more, hyping everyone up.
Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, happy. You know, that driver and putter is great for him. He gets second at the PGA Championship, barely loses to Alexander Schauffele. And then come the U.S. Open. Everyone's like, this is his time. This is his time. Bryson Dechambeau, he was leading. He had everything to lose. I mean, some would say he wasn't even playing great on Sunday. A lot of his drives are going into the
he wasn't on the fairway
stuff.
He
wasn't.
Hopefully he checked for wood ticks.
But it didn't matter because he kept getting the crowd involved. And after he won the whole thing, after the great bunker shot, hyping up the crowd, he makes a promise to everybody and said, I want everybody to touch the U.S. Open trophy somehow. After he stayed for 2.5 hours after and was signing autographs, everyone was touching the trophy. He goes to Jimmy Fallon's show. He goes up in the crowd. Everyone touches it. He went back to live. They had a whole thing for him in Nashville where he just were. Everyone was touching the trophy. Bryson Dechambeau is making golf more fun. Watch out. I know everyone's going to be like, stop glazing. I don't care. Bryson Dechambeau is a dog. He's a brother. Take a bad man. And that's a bad man and a Boyce story time. In the same breath.
He was awesome, man. Did you see him when he was after there was that handicapped guy on the wheelchair, like in the kind of the funnel of fans as he left the course? Mm-hmm. He just stopped and they're like total alpha move. Like wasn't asked or nothing. He just stops, rips the guy's hat off, signs it, puts it back on his head. Like maybe that kid didn't want the autograph. Who knows? But it was to your point. Like they're saying it was like an alpha move. He was just like, I'm the dude. I'm the guy now. I'm a bad man. I love your bad man. I'm going to step away from the game of golf, though, and I'm going to go back to the NBA Finals. Oh, boy. Ooh. And I'm not going to give it to who you're probably thinking I'm going to give it to. I'd love to give it to Jason Tatum. Before I give it, though, you know how we do but you just did your special segment. Mm-hmm. We used to do the sincere apologies with Bailey. I'm not going to give one. I'm going to demand one from you, my friend, because you've been dogging on my guy Tatum, and I've been telling you for a full year, my guy, that he's gonna be hoisting that trophy, and he is. He did.
Because I actually knew you were gonna say something like this. I called this. It doesn't take a genius to call the Boston Celtics winning it all, Bailey. It didn't take a genius calling the Denver and the Nuggets last year. Well, you call the most basic picks ever, and then you think you're a genius for it. Houston was the 1 seed, and you picked them, Bailey.
That's why I said earlier when Gibby was talking, I said the NBA is getting very predictable. If I can pick the NBA champions before the season starts 2 years in a row, that tells you a lot about the league. I'm just giving you a hard time because you've been ripping my guy Tatum, and I've been telling you Tatum's going to hold that trophy this year, and he did. But he's not my bad man. My bad man is Brad Stevens.
Okay, that's fine.
And I'm just going to read you because I saw this tweet the other day, and it kind of summarizes why he's a bad man. Traded Kemba Walker for Al Horford. Did not trade Jaylen Brown in 21 when everybody was telling him to get rid of Jaylen Brown. Then he traded Romeo Langford for Derek White. Tell me that who won that trade, right? Then he traded Marcus Smart for Kristaps Porzingis and 2 first-round picks. Then when Jaylen Brown's contract's up, and everybody said get rid of Brown, you were calling for him the other week saying he disappears in the finals. Guess what? He stuck with them, re-signed them. Then he trades Brogdon and Williams for Drew Holiday. And then he re-signs Porzingis and Holiday, and they win the ship. Brad Stevens is the real MVP. He is a bad man. That is some good work in a short period of time. Like, to be able to see that and be like, all right, Romeo Langford for Derek White, they absolutely won that trade. Yeah, Marcus Smart, yeah. He was so, no pun intended, he was so smart, right? Because everybody's like, what are you doing? He's one of the best defenders in the league.
Yeah, he's the glue.
What does he go do right after that? Brings in Drew Holiday, who is a better defender. Like, just got it between the ears. Brad Stevens is a bad man.
He is, and I mean, he's the head coach. Where's Butler? Is that where he was for? No, he wasn't.
Yes, Butler.
Yeah, Butler. Yep. Butler. Him and Gordon Hayward goes from there to the Celtics job. He was a Celtics coach for I don't know how many, a lot of years, and then
moves up into management.
And was he asked to do that, or was that like he wanted to do that?
I don't really know if he. I think I think he asked. I think that position opened up and he said he wanted it and they gave it to him. And if you're around guys like that long enough, you can understand, like, that dude is smart. Like, he would probably be an ideal candidate for the Lakers. Like, he's so smart. He's like J.J. Redick, right? Everybody talks about how he's so smart and he's so intelligent. It's like Dan Hurley, he's so smart and so intelligent. They just know what they're doing. And, you know, the guy that built I think Gibby said this last week, the guy that built the Thunder is now with the Timberwolves, right?
No, built the Nuggets.
Or built the Nuggets is now with the Timberwolves. Like, those guys aren't a dime a dozen. They're not everywhere out there. And when you get them, you keep them, you pay them. And that's why Brad Stevens is still with the Celtics, even though he's not coaching. And then he brought in Missoula. This guy was coaching, like, JUCO college somewhere.
He was in the same draft class as Kyrie.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. Like, they were both drafted at the same time, and now he's coaching against the guy in the finals, and he's, 34 years old?
Yeah,
35 years old?
35 years old, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Did you hear where
Al Horford.
Like Missoula, like where they first recognized, like, his coaching talent? He talked Bobby Huggins into going into a 1-3-1 zone. They say that was when it became, like, Bob Huggins has done what Bob Huggins has always done.
Full court press.
Like the 1-2-2 full court press, and he doesn't do anything else. And Missoula talked him into a 1-3-1 at West Virginia. And I don't know if I've never looked into it, if he was on staff, if he was, how that all worked. But they're saying that was kind of like a huge coaching move. And then look at him now. He just won a championship with the Celtics. So Joe Mazzulla, Brad Stevens brought in all the right pieces. So Brad Stevens, keep an eye on the mailbox, buddy. Your Bad Man Award is coming.
Much deserving for sure. Gibby, though. We were texting the group chat earlier, and you were like, are we going to have football talk? And I said, well, think of a football topic. Did you get a football
I think I got one. Yeah, I think for just now that we are entering into the countdown, barring the outcome of the NHL playoffs, kind of the next major sport to get started in August. I was thinking we could pick a team. I can pick a team here, and we can just see over under the amount of wins we think they're going to have going into next season. I do have the current updated win totals for all the teams in the NFL, and we'll see what you guys think here. I can kind of rattle some off and maybe just kind of gloss over some teams. Just a couple of the kind of the more like popular teams. We don't have to do all 32 today, just to kind of keep it. Or maybe we can kind of break it down by a division. We can start with that. Yeah. Do we want to start close to home, or do we want to kind of be more of a?
Let's start AFC. Let's actually go
start with the AFC. Would you like to start with the reigning Super Bowl champions out of the AFC West? All right. Well, the Kansas City Chiefs are tied with the San Francisco 49ers for the most projected wins at 11.5 going into next year. So both and they are the second highest odds to win the Super Bowl, also behind the 49ers. So the 49ers are the odds-on favorites right now to win the Super Bowl going into next year, with the Chiefs closely behind with plus 500 for the 49ers and plus 650. So not a big gap. So what are we thinking? Over or under 11.5 wins coming off of their third Super Bowl in the last?
Tough to bet against Patrick Mahomes, like we were just saying. I got to go over. I think
they'll win 12.
Yeah, I think 12. Because 12-5. I don't think they'll have 6 losses at all. I go over on that.
They'll lose 6 if Mahomes gets hurt and they have to play without Mahomes for 2 or 3 weeks. Because they'll probably go 0-for when he's not playing. They'll probably go 0-2 or 0-3 if he were to get hurt. But if we're predicting fully healthy, I'm going over.
And I think ironically too, is last year was the first year they had not gone over 11 wins in 6 seasons.
Oh, they
were 11-6 last year. Yeah. And,
didn't they start like 1-3?
Yeah, they struggled to start the year. I believe one of their losses, if I remember correctly, they did lose to the Broncos earlier in that season.
Oh yeah,
and it was right after the Broncos got beat by 70.
Yes, to the Dolphins. I think that was a pretty wild stretch there. But I think. Do you think they got better this offseason? Like, do you think offensively they added more pieces, or do you think that
did they bring in?
Offensively,
they drafted the speedy
receiver
out of Texas. They added Hollywood Brown.
Yeah,
So they've got a few more guys on that receiving room, considering that was arguably the worst receiving room Mahomes ever had in there.
And arguably in the league, though.
And obviously you have Kelsey, so that puts you in the conversation of and their tight ends were phenomenal. They have 3 of them that are legitimate players that they could put out there as a giving Kelsey a break when he needs one. But I think from a defensive standpoint, I don't know how much better they got from last year because I haven't really looked a lot into their rosters. But did they get better?
Yeah, 100%.
In terms of their roster makeup?
They lost Ladarius Sneed, though. That's going to be huge. I think he went to the Titans and stuff. That's going to be big. Running back, it's still Pacheco. He didn't chase, but he's still at Kansas
I believe
City.
he's still there, Mr. High Stepper himself, the hardest running man
He's
in the
kind of
NFL.
underrated, man. I had him on fantasy. He did a lot of good things, man.
I don't think the Chiefs can get.
Runs like he hates the ground.
No,
I love watching him.
And he's the only running back that actually runs the perfect form. But no, I don't think the Chiefs won't get worse than last year.
No, I don't think so.
I think over on that.
Over 11.5. All right. Yeah, I should keep a log of this. That way we can kind of see how well we did going into the season. All right, next we have the newly appointed head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers.
Okay.
With Harbaugh stepping in and already hearing a lot of really good things coming from the players, especially the veterans, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa. Specifically this past week, 8.5 wins for the Chargers, coming off of a pretty big stinker of a year.
What did they win last year?
They went 5-12 last year. I don't know if you guys remember that Thursday. Yeah, Herbert got hurt that Thursday night game against the Raiders that got Staley fired was pretty abysmal.
Freaking Staley got fired.
That might have been one of the most pathetic showings of an NFL team I've seen in a long time. Nothing against and that was a team earlier in the year that got beat by 70 points.
Yeah.
And I still think that they played better than the Chargers did that night. So they're at 8.5 currently.
I'm going under.
Really?
I just think it's going to take a little bit. It's going to take more than a season for Harbaugh to kind of get things going. They're gonna do okay. They're gonna probably win 7, but I don't think they're gonna get over 8.
I think they're gonna go over 8. I think everywhere Harbaugh goes, the culture changes, and he leads these teams to flip around and do great. I do agree with you to a point, though. I think it might take more than a year. I get what you're saying on that.
And who are the skill guys that are around?
That's what's scaring me.
Because they lost
Keenan Allen,
Mike Williams. So they don't really have the receivers. Herbert's coming off an injury.
Was that TSU kid the best receiver on that team? Quentin.
I believe so. Yes. Yeah. And Austin Eckler's gone.
Yeah. So I think the Chargers are going under.
I can't remember where. I can look that up here really quick.
Who's their running back now then?
Their running back room is not that great. I think they have one of the worst running back rooms in terms of star power.
They're not winning 8 games.
And their wide receivers are terrible too. Yeah. I don't even know. They don't got.
They can hang their head on their defense.
Is that their tight end now?
They did draft Ladd McConkey.
Okay.
That was that was a big name.
And Brendan Rice.
They got Joe Alt to add to their offensive line. Let's see here, DJ Chark.
He had like 4 good fantasy games 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Literally.
Gus Edwards is a running back out there, assuming he can stay healthy.
I'm gonna go under with Bailey. This offensive roster is terrible.
They might not win 5 games this year.
Yeah, it's looking pretty rough.
They might be.
I don't even know who some of these. You got Quentin Johnson. They have a lot of Johnsons in that receiving room. They've got Cornelius Johnson, Jalen Johnson, Leon Johnson, and Quentin Johnson all on there.
Johnson, get over here!
They do got Brendan Rice, though.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if any other guys. Josh Palmer is still on the team.
Oh, gosh.
The defense is top tier, though. That's the thing.
They've got some guys.
I wouldn't say top tier.
Yeah, well, I shouldn't say top tier. But
they had some good pass rushers.
Yeah. Brendan Rice, Jerry Rice's kid. They did take him this year.
I just said that twice.
I'm just looking in here. Former Packers, J.K. Scott's their punter.
Wait.
He's gonna be punting a lot, so I'm just saying, throw that out there. Isaiah Spiller is another running back.
Another guy who's like prime was 17
That's
years
about
ago.
it. Ladd McConkey has not signed his rookie contract yet, but he will, I would assume, eventually.
I didn't even love
J.K.
him.
Dobbins, another running back on that team. So they basically took the...
They must have had did they have a trade with Baltimore where they got those two backs and gave up Eckler? Did Eckler go to the...
No, because Derrick Henry's at.
Oh, that's right,
Baltimore.
Yeah, Derrick Henry's
It's so hard to like keep track of
where
like
did Eckler go?
who's where.
Austin Eckler.
But I think we can move on from the Chargers. We've all just determined they are going to be Marco Septic.
Austin Eckler is on the Washington Commanders.
That's not a great place to be either.
Just as a reference, so I can keep track and we can keep this up going into the fall. We all agree over on the Chiefs.
Over on
Over
the
on the
Chiefs.
Okay, and then
Under
for
on
Chargers, are we going under? Because
Yeah.
they were one of the few teams that had. I was looking at it here. They had 2.5 games higher than their previous years coming out, or teams that had similar end results their season. Like I said, they got inflated. They got the Harbaugh bump. In terms of
I'll go as far as saying that they get more Marco Septic awards than they do wins next year.
All right, next, not too far off. I think this is probably a little bit more realistic win total for the Chargers. We have the Raiders at 6.5.
Oh, that's tough. I mean, the Raiders Nation. Oh, I'm going under. They don't have you gotta have a quarterback in there.
Yeah, because who do they got taking snaps?
Gardner
up there?
Minshew.
Gardner
and-
Minshew is the
Is he slated number one right now?
I think he is, because Jimmy G's gone now, so they don't have.
Aiden McConnell.
Aiden McConnell was the guy that kind of finished the season last
Was
year.
it Purdue alum?
Crazy how you get like a dude like Aiden McConnell taking snaps in the NFL, and there was all these dudes we watched in college that were just big name studs. It's like, where'd that guy go? Like I'm a little biased on this, but I'm gonna think Sam Ellinger's better than McConnell every time.
Okay.
Like look at what Sam Ellinger did at Texas versus what O'Connell did wherever. Nobody even knows where he went to school.
He's Purdue, I think, right?
Yeah, but what did he do there? He didn't. They didn't win. They weren't any
They
good.
didn't do anything.
That's what I mean. Like, so that's the thing is, you watch these guys that play at Power 5, big school, like football school. You can even think of Alabama quarterbacks, right? They're not taking snaps, but Aiden O'Connell is.
I feel like Gibby, you're a guy who's gonna like. I don't know if it was you or Yard who said like you didn't mind it, Aiden O'Connell actually last year, and I really mind. I didn't like him at all.
I wasn't super impressed. I struggle with the quarterbacks because, like you said, you got guys that are going to these big name schools, and it's like, how do they miss so poorly on these guys in college when they come out and they just dominate the NFL? I mean, Josh Allen, Wyoming, like that's the best that he was. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they just click, and I mean, Coach and I obviously we kind of are in the same realm in terms of watching player development over the course of a 4-year span. It's a little bit different, obviously, at the high school level, but you can kind of have an idea of like you get surprised maybe once a year, I would say, like really surprised because a kid just really flips it and gets it. But I mean, for the most part, I feel like those guys at the college level should be able to recognize the talent, and then you get a guy like an Aiden O'Connell just come out of nowhere, or even some of the backups that are out there. I mean, Gardner Minshew was at Washington State. I mean, he wasn't. I mean, he played under Mike Leach, so obviously he had the statistics maybe to back that up. But then you look at those guys from. I think of a guy. I know this was a big. With a shout out to the new college football game coming out in about a month here. I played with Hawaii a lot, like a Colt Brennan. That dude was a superstar in Hawaii. Threw for like almost 6,000 yards in his senior season.
Unreal with statistics.
Went to the NFL, completely fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
He did pass away, I think, a couple years ago. But the dude was electric in college, and then all of a sudden you just get there, it doesn't translate. But then you got a guy like Patrick Mahomes, who, I mean, he was kind of a middle of the tier quarterback too, and he came out and obviously has become the most dominant quarterback since Tom Brady. But to kind of stick to the teams, the roster makeup, some offensive guys anyway, they did add Jacoby Myers, Michael Gallup in their receiving room to pair up with Devontae, and then Devontae actually has a couple guys at tight end too, with Michael Mayer and then Brock Bowers.
And that's a very good tight end crew right there. Enough to make me think they're gonna go over 6.5 games. Oh no!
And then obviously losing their bell cow in
Jacobs
going to the Packers. Their running back room looks pretty gross, to be honest with you. With Zamir White, Alexander Madison is in there.
He's the one.
Amir Abdullah is still around. I guess And then they drafted a rookie out of New Hampshire. I don't know if that's going to make much of a difference, but
I'm going under.
I don't know.
Under. You going under, Gibby?
Aiden O'Connell, Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. I think those guys are going to be pretty average. So, yeah,
That's a good average quarterback.
I think
battle.
that division is so tough too, and it's hard not looking at the schedule who they're playing. But like just from a feel standpoint, I think it's fair to say under for the Raiders as well. So we're all saying under.
Yeah. And then for your next team, I'm gonna go under on that team. I don't even have to hear if it's not 2.5 for the Denver Broncos.
It's 5.5 games. The lowest projected win total is the Carolina Panthers and the New England Patriots at 4.5 games. So we'll get to those eventually when we get to those divisions.
There's going to be a team that doesn't win a game for about 10 or 11 weeks. And it's going to maybe be the Broncos.
Do you guys think it's going to be Zach Wilson or Bo Nix?
It's going to be Zach Wilson for 5 weeks and then Bo Nix.
I can't remember. I had heard a soundbite. I had heard a soundbite from somebody talking about Peyton's and like how impressed he is with one of the quarterbacks. Like Bo Nix was like a combination of these two Hall of Fame guys. Let's hold on.
Trying to keep the fans from giving their tickets away on.
I know. I just
Craigslist.
The NFL is so funny though how it doesn't take a lot sometimes for teams to just completely flip a switch. Because you'll get those teams that'll just string wins together. Like I think back, and again, I know this might hurt some Minnesota fans' feelings, but that year they went like 11-0 to start the year a couple years ago, and I'm like, you've watched those games, right? Like they should have lost half of these. Like they should be a 500 team right now. They just finally got that luck that they had been missing for how many seasons where they would lose those one-score games. They finally won a whole bunch of them in a season. It's like, and then they get to the playoffs and just got annihilated. It's like, it's just that's the NFL. Like the matchups sometimes just work in your favor. And if you're playing well or a team's playing poorly, you can string a few wins, steal a couple of games. So I have to believe that this is just for me not wanting to go chalk here in terms of like we've been over on the Chiefs and then under on everybody else. I think I'm just going to go. This would be kind of like my dark horse. I'm going to say over just because one of those teams has to be better.
So here's the interesting thing.
I don't think it's going to be the Chargers. Chargers are not winning 9 games. Like that'd be a miracle in my mind if Harbaugh could somehow string together 9 wins with that roster makeup.
Who has Zach Wilson played for?
The Jets.
And the Jets only. What did he do before he went to the Jets? He was unreal. He was so good in college.
No, he wasn't. He was not unreal in college. At BYU, he was not unreal. He was not.
That dude could gun the ball, man. He was a slinger.
But he wasn't like a top-tier college quarterback at the time.
I think he was a lot better than some of these other guys in the league and some of the other guys that were drafted. My point is this. He has potential. So, you get him with the right fit. Like Gibby saying, all of a sudden, next thing you know, it's the right fit, and they start rattling off some games. They get a little momentum. He starts getting comfortable. They could win some games. Now, he could go there and play like he did with the Jets and go 0-5 and be benched, and Bo Nix comes in, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this Bo Nix guy, everybody slept on him. Look, he's a real deal, and they win the last 12, whatever it might be. It's all about that quarterback fit. I'm not about to bet on Zach Wilson, so I was just saying the potential is there. He's got potential. It's not like, same thing Gardner Minshew. Look what he did for a while. He was really good. If he gets the right fit, maybe the Raiders are decent. And I just think back to Nick Foles. When he was with the right fit, the right quarterback's coach, the right scheme, he won a Super Bowl. Then he goes to the Bears, and he'll be the first one to tell you, not the right fit is never comfortable. And he looked terrible, and so did the Bears.
Yeah, right? And he went to Jacksonville. It didn't turn out. But are you over or under on that?
I'm still going under because,
And you're over on that?
I think I'm going to go over just because if there's a team that I'm thinking in here that has nowhere to go but up because they had a pretty abysmal finish to their season last year, I would have to say I think 5.5 is still pretty high, but I'll take them going over just because I don't think the Raiders are going to be better. If anything, I think they're on the same tier. 1 game difference in their win totals is what it is, but I don't think the Chargers are going over. And I don't think the Raiders are. I think they're kind of right where they're supposed to be. So, for the record, Boyce, you were going...
I'm going
under.
Yeah.
And Coach?
Under.
I kind of like this new, we all have our segments. Gibby's is, I think, the Gibby's over-under segment. Every week we do a division. But for one last segment of this whole podcast, I'd like to just ask you guys, it's going to be just a weird question now to end off the podcast. How long would it take you guys if everyone was able, like, to, I saw this from this TikToker, it's called The Bread Basket. If everyone, like, stopped sneezing, how long would it take you guys to notice that, like, nobody was sneezing? Sneezing?
Would you?
Interesting.
How long would it take
I
you
can't remember
guys?
the last time I saw somebody sneeze because you don't think about you don't remember it. You see it, but then you don't remember. It's not like, it's kind of like yawning, right? I mean,
like, would there ever be a time where, like, oh, nobody has sneezed in a while?
it'd probably take me.
Like, how long would
That's
that
a
take?
fascinating thought.
It would take me, I'm just going to give you an answer. It'd take me 75 years because I wouldn't know. I can't remember the last. Maybe everybody did stop sneezing. I can't remember. I can't remember the last person that sneezed. Other than my son. My son sneezes all the time. He's got allergies.
My daughter sneezes about 40 times a day.
Yeah,
so
you know.
Just because babies do. Like, that's just kind of the thing. I think if it were like adults, like people who could recognize things like that, obviously excluding like little kids and stuff, I don't think I'd be the first person, because all it takes is one person. I would be like, oh yeah, you know what? Now that you think about it, I'd be calling everybody after someone informed me. So I don't think I would be the first. I think I would be the recipient of someone else. I don't know. It's a very weird thought to like.
It's the common answer. Like, what do most people say?
I don't think you notice if, like, there's, like, sneezing.
Nobody would.
I think it's how much time it is. Would you notice? 'Cause I don't think I would.
I never would. Because I don't look at it and be like, when's the last time I was hanging out with Gibby and Boyce and they sneezed? Like, I don't think about it. Like, I don't know that I've ever seen you sneeze in your entire life.
And I sneeze a lot.
Yeah, so it's like, that's a tough question, man.
I'm trying to think, just even it being in the classroom. I mean, it happens all the time in the classroom, but I don't anticipate or think of like I only notice it when it happens. It's not like I'm like, oh, nobody sneezed in my class today. Like, that's never been a thing.
You should do a little tally on the whiteboard, and then at the end of the week, you look at it and be like, okay, good, thank world. Everybody's still sneezing.
I feel like any tallies down this week. Jayden, it's happening. It happened.
Then I found out it took me 1 week.
I feel like 30 years I'd notice.
I don't think I would ever notice.
I'd be like, nobody has sneezed in a while.
I would
I just
never
think there are
notice.
going to be more observant people in the world that would be like, I haven't, like, there's just some people that are a little bit more self-aware of their own actions. Like, because think about it, I'm not a person that has allergies. But for someone who does, and they're around the allergen, and they're not sneezing, that's going to be noticed pretty quick. So I feel like if you're somebody who consistently has allergies, you're going to probably notice pretty quick. For someone like me, I only sneeze if someone takes like a literal pound of dust and shoves it in my face. Like, that's the only way I feel like I would be forcibly sneezing.
Then you can find out.
I don't know.
Is there such a thing as like a phobia or a thing of sneezing where like people like freak out around it? Like that would be the person to find out from. Like, just ask them like, hey buddy, have you seen anybody sneeze in the last 2 weeks?
Miss Gibson. Let's ask Miss Gibson this question. Would you ever, if everyone stopped sneezing, would you ever be like, oh, nobody has sneezed? Like, would that ever thought come to your mind? No. Never.
I would never notice if people in the world stopped sneezing.
Like, how long, you think you would ever recognize it unless somebody else brought it to your attention?
Probably.
Like, you would figure it out? Like, you'd be like, you know,
I probably would figure it out.
Let's see, that's right. That's where I'm at too, because we're not like.
I wouldn't even know if I quit sneezing. I'd be like, when's the last time I sneezed?
I think I would struggle. Like, I would be like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going.
Okay, I don't know what.
Can I just tell everybody we have a new guest on the
We do
show?
have a new guest. Introduce.
I'm gonna leave her just here because I don't want to get her too popular right now.
we don't need a bunch of followers. You know, get a bunch of extra followers for our newest fan.
Yeah, no, we added my daughter, so she's hanging out because I got to bring her to reffing if she's not back. So that'll be.
What time is that 7-on-7 start?
Yeah.
It has started.
Your game's
The JV started at 5:30, but we did shout out Coach Tackman last week for getting that going. But
That's good.
7 o'clock is the first varsity game, and it's going to be a little wet, I believe, this week. So bring your boots out there. So I think we're on the same field tonight.
We are on the same field.
So,
That's unfortunate for me to have to be on the same field as this rap. But